Welcome to We Chat Divorce, brought to you by My Divorce Solution and hosted by myself, Karen Chellew, legal liaison, and Catherine Shanahan, divorce financial specialist and CDFA. On these special explainer episodes, we answer the top questions about divorce, giving you confidence and clarity. And today we're going to talk about who can help. How do you develop your professional team when divorcing? We'll discuss all the ins and outs to help you navigate through this very unique challenge. So let's get started.
Who can help is one of the most challenging questions to answer when you're navigating divorce. So, where do we start? Everyone is so ready to start hiring an attorney, but I don't know if that's necessarily the best place to start. What do you think, Karen?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they're approaching the divorce process, they either say attorney or mediator, right? They think those are the two options. And so, what they don't understand is it's much more far reaching than that. Sometimes they also think about hiring a coach. They go to online courses, a lot of Google searches, right? Workshops, and sometimes financial help. But even with all of those professionals in front of them and us and anyone who's approaching divorce, I think what most people forget is the most important step of preparation.
Well, how do you go anywhere without being prepared? You end up just going in like a train wreck, right? You're emotionally charged, you're unorganized, you're nervous, you're scared because you don't have the papers that you need to really tell you what they're going to answer, what they're going to ask of you. And so you're just running around basically. And all you know is you just want to file, you just want this to get started, or you didn't have the option. Your spouse filed, and now you have to run and get someone. So everyone's just running around in I feel like it's a cyclone, right? And then a lot of times when that happens, you're not hiring the right people. So when you're running to an attorney that your friend used, maybe that attorney was good for your friend, but I don't know if they're good for you. So to
Right.
get prepared first would save you a lot of time, money, and stress.
Yeah, absolutely. And that even goes for mediation, because what are you mediating if you don't know what you have, if you don't know what it means to you, if you don't know what your options are and the financial impact? And so I've had many consults over the past months and years, and I'm maybe forever, where people say, well, we'll do that once we hire. Well, shouldn't I hire an attorney? Shouldn't I hire a mediator first? Because they do that too.
Yeah, because you go to mediation, and I had a conversation yesterday with someone, and their spouse does not want to talk to them about money. So I'm thinking, okay, well, that's a first red flag with going to mediation because your spouse has to talk to you about money. But he's thinking that she'll talk to the mediator about it. But the mediator wants them to come with all their financial information. So you're using this time with your mediator, what, to collect the data and look at it? You're still not prepared to have any constructive, productive conversation.
Right. And a mediator is not an advice giver. So many people misunderstand that. So I had a recent client and she hired us right away because of this very specific issue. She said, we're at mediation and they were going through these things, but she said, I was concerned about this account and I'm not sure about if I should get spousal support. And I said, well, did you ask about it? She said, no, I thought they would bring it up. And I said, well, you're missing the whole point of mediation. Mediation is to facilitate conversation between the two of you and help you come to a conclusion. A mediator is not going to be in the space of creating adversity where none exists. Their role is to help you get to a solution, not to bring up accounts or um, areas of financial help where neither one of you have even thought about or discussed. She didn't know that.
I know, and that's why I love when they come through our process and they have their portrait in hand, because if you have questions specifically to ask your mediator, then they can ask that. Not ask that, they can answer that. So if you don't have that question to ask them, they'll never know to answer anything or direct you because that's not their role, to your point. So going there with really good questions to ask and being financially clear on what some of your options are will really, again, make a productive mediation session. And if your spouse is still not willing to talk to you about those issues, then guess what? Mediation probably won't work.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with financial helps, so many people will think about that they need financial help if they think their spouse has dissipated assets or there's been some divorce planning going on. But actually, everybody needs financial help, especially with filling out those disclosures and what those line items mean to you and understanding how the courts interpret all this financial data and getting your supporting documentation together. Getting financial help isn't just for those who need more forensic scope. It's for everybody. So you know what you have and you know what your options are. I
Gosh,
recent
I'm glad you brought. Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, I just wanted to tell the story recently, and you'll know who this is. Um, the lesser earning spouse was ordered to pay the other spouse support because she owned a business and she misreported her income. And so when she went back to her attorney to talk about it, he said, "Well, that's what you reported."
Hmm.
So some attorneys are going to drill down, hopefully, a little bit more than that. But this attorney presented it as her income and it was grossly overstated, but she didn't know that.
And let's
So,
just talk about fixing that. You think you can go back to court to fix that? Well, how many of you listening and your court date has been canceled or it's been rescheduled? And then it's been rescheduled again. And then you finally go and your spouse doesn't bring the appropriate information. So what do? They reschedule it again or schedule a follow up meeting. That's months and months of overpaying a support calculation. So you need to get it right the first time. And that's by going through the tedious job of doing your lifestyle analysis. It's very important in so many aspects of the process.
right. And so then go ahead, Catherine.
I know. You hit on
You're
something
so
that I
passionate.
know. Well, you hit on something that really gets me. And I think we could talk about this about so many people is when do you hire a forensic? When do you hire a business valuator? And when do you hire a one-off CDFA to do something or a daily money manager? Like what role is it that you need for your marital estate? So when you come to our process, our CDFAs are different. We don't invest money and we're mediation trained. So we're able to talk to both parties. We're not hired by an attorney to just do a specific task, right? So a lot of great CDFAs out there, they're directed by the attorney. So if the attorney wants a certain report, that's the report they're going to do, which is great. But that's not getting you the financial clarity you need before you get to that exercise, right? So there's a step you need to take first. And then you'll know if you need that other step. And that person can be your expert or what have you. But the forensic and I know you probably want to elaborate on some of this, but the forensic, that just drives me insane. I have not, I have seen so many, gosh, Karen, probably at least, I don't know, over 30 forensic reports come in that aren't actually a deliverable. They're chicken scratched reports. They're reports that are showing a balancing of a checkbook for a business. It's not because somebody wants to reclaim money that was spent on a girlfriend or a boyfriend or what have you. Um, that to me is not what you hire a forensic for. A forensic is for tracing large amounts of money back and forth between businesses that will affect the business value of a company or they're really good for that type of work, not for the everyday couple who you think your spouse dissipated money for a couple of years. That's a bookkeeping job, you know. And it gets I just whenever we ask some forensics, like, what's the scope here? And they can't answer that, or what was the deliverable? And they give you a spreadsheet that a daily money manager could do or a bookkeeper could do. It drives me insane when I hear they've spent so much money on that and there's nothing to show for it.
That's so true. And that is the emotion of so many divorces, right? It's raw, it's upsetting, it's contentious. Even if you're fairly amiable, there's a lot of time that under uh, current of mistrust and vulnerability is there. And so, one of the first places people will start to pivot financially is, well, where did this money go? And how is she or he able to buy this already? And so your financial emotions get out in front of you And then in response, that's where your professionals are responding to you. However, how can you make good discussions in that space if you haven't figured out the baseline, the foundation of what exists today that you know? Catherine, you call them the knowns.
Mhm.
What are the knowns? And then from there, you can decide where you want to spend money on the unknowns. What's the probability of recovering anything if funds were dissipated? And then what professional do I need to help me in that space? So then that's going to determine what kind of attorney you hire. Do you need one that's more versed in commercial real estate or contracts or business valuations, or, a lot of attorneys are well versed in complex, high net worth estates. But then what is there further nuance there? And so many people, like you said earlier, will hire an attorney or a mediator based on what someone else has used. But that's comparable to hiring an orthopedic surgeon when you need a gastroenterologist, right?
Mhm.
Just because someone else had a good experience with a different attorney doesn't mean that's the right attorney or mediator for you. There's so many variables in that space that you just need to understand and ask good questions so that you're getting the best representation. And again, you can't get there until you build out your financial foundation of what you're dividing and what the knowns are, and then what you have available to you to explore further.
You brought up the emotions and that the professionals are directed by your emotions. So, who can help with that? Your attorney should not be helping you with your emotions. That's not what they're trained for. Your attorney helps you with the legal aspects of your divorce, right? So, if you're in that space where you feel like you're just ready to run to an attorney because you want to cry about what happened and you're scared and all that, well, maybe you want to take pause there and go to a coach first. Go to a therapist or a coach and vent to them in the beginning of this process. Oh my gosh, this is just what happened to me. Or, oh my gosh, this is what I'm thinking to do. And I'm scared and I'm afraid and I don't know my finances and I don't know what to do next. And just vent to your coach or vent to your therapist. Pay that whatever it is because it'd be a lot less expensive than going to your attorney. And when you can just get those emotions out, then I'm telling you, you're going to see that your next step is to get financially prepared. And that's what we're talking about, right? So acknowledge your feelings, but go to the person who can help for that. And that's a therapist or a coach. Maybe throw your best friend in there every once in a while, but go to a professional in the divorce area that can help you there. And then get financially prepared. And that is getting your portrait, hopefully, but anyway, you have to do it. Get financially prepared. And
Yeah.
then you'll know what attorney you need. Now, listen, Karen, we all know that there's some cases out there that there's just abuse and really bad things going on. So you do
Mhm.
have to get an attorney to get a protective order, or whatever you have to do.
Absolutely.
So I'm not trying to discount that, but for the majority of us out there, vent to the right person. They're going to help you there, and then get financially prepared because then you'll know what pathway will work best for you. And that could be collaborative, it could be litigation, it could be mediation, it could be what's the other one, Karen? Um, Collaborative and
Mediation.
oh, I thought there was another one they were calling now.
Well, a new word that
Assisted
people
collaboration or something. What's the new word?
alternative dispute
Yeah,
resolution is what
yeah.
you're thinking of.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a term more widely used, and it's coming out of the American Bar Association. So yeah, alternative dispute resolution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess what we're trying to say here is know who can help you for what it is that you need and know what the priority of that need is. So, and I say that in because one step, it's kind of like the domino effect, right? One step really will have an impact on the next one. So we always, anything we talk about being financially prepared. Um, just think that that is the best foundation for you in any pathway you have to take.
Absolutely. And in our commitment to kind of disrupt the industry by just turning divorce inside out, it's not historically how everyone has approached the divorce process. But I think everyone can agree that family law and going through divorce is incredibly destructive. And so that's why we want everyone to know that there's a different way. And there's a way that you can know and be confident and streamline this so that you don't get caught up in the whole, I call it the hamster wheel of divorce and the extraordinary expenditure of family funds. It doesn't have to be that way.
Oh, let's just before we end this, let's talk about that client that I just spoke to. They had decided to divorce a couple of years ago. They both hired attorneys. It was probably $100,000 they may have spent. It's a high net worth case. They reconciled. They changed their minds. They got together. Fast forward 2 years now, they're getting divorced again, and they hired us immediately. And working with them, I said to Karen, I said to you yesterday,
Hmm.
what I would take 20 of these a day, you know, because they realize the value of working together. Although they're not on the same page with everything, they're sharing everything. They're having the uncomfortable but comfortable conversation and doing this financial exercise because they know what it looked like when they tried to do this 2 years ago and they refused to do that. And I appreciated that. And so working through this process with them, it just validated the being financially prepared and knowing what your options are. The two of you will come to a much better conclusion and you won't spend so much money fighting for things that probably won't pan out or matter in the end.
Right. Absolutely. So, when you take the initial steps to know what you have, collect all of the supporting documentation that you can, and believe us, you have way more access to documents than you know, even if you're not the financial manager of your family. And when you know what is available to divide and what the financial impact will be to you relative to any decision, then you move ahead and hire the professionals that are best suited to your case. So many people miss that step of preparation, and that's why divorce can be so costly and expensive and confusing. We hope you have a clearer understanding of why it's important to prepare intentionally for divorce so that you can confidently know your options and choose your team.
Thank you for listening in and joining us today. If you'd like to leave us some comments, we would love to talk about anything that's on your mind or troubling you or that you just want to hear some information about. So don't forget to follow us and like and leave some comments.
All right, here's our disclaimer. The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered as financial or legal advice. Please consult with professionals in the relevant fields for personal guidance.